Welcome to the Pitmaster Podcast. We're barbecue competition competitors that aim to share information, advice, tips, and tall tales about our favorite pastime. Head over to thepitmasterpodcast.com for all things Pitmasters, or follow us on your favorite social media platform.
We won the Open in '98, and that was with 400 teams.
The thing is, when people tell me, hey, I did your recipe, and my family thinks I'm amazing now.
Right? Everything barbecue is stinks. We are arguing at Jerry's Spring Up. It's like, I'm not going to her door, and I say, Sue, got some barbecue for you. And she say, thank you, Tuffy. And it just kept going, and then as time got further along, started winning and doing real well, and I developed my own line of rubs and seasonings, and it snowballed from there.
Damon had this ridiculous sense of being able to look at a rub and he can name it. I'll never forget. So he looks there and he goes, hey man, I see what you're doing over there. Why you got that Sunburn Docks in a Plowboy's bottle? And I was like, are you kidding me?
Here are the hosts of the Pitmaster Podcast, Rusty Monson, head pitmaster of Salt City Barbecue, and the two-time grand champion pitmaster of Smoke Ain't No Joke Barbecue, the Anthony Luan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, not a problem. So, Chef Matt, he is a professionally trained chef. He has done competition barbecues. He has done a lot inside the kitchen. He is actually, I guess, a professional chef that uses cannabis to enhance his cooking styles, I guess. So we'll get into a little bit of that, but we want to actually just hit the rewind button before we even get too far into the new age of cooking. Let's go back and let's talk about your culinary background and how you got into cooking and just barbecue and everything else.
Man, I just come from a long line of family members that, love to barbecue just as far back as I can remember. It's just, barbecue has kind of been life in my family. And kind of started out learning how to start the fire, learning how to maintain the fire. And then before you could even get to touch the meat, if you know what I mean, you got to learn that fire first.
Right. That's fact.
So you had an uncle who used to cook with cannabis and barbecue sauce. Is that right? Is that where this all came about?
Yeah, man. Uncle Kurt, man, he was amazing at barbecue, and he was a grower. And just watching him cook with it and, keep the stems and the trims and everything and throwing in barbecue sauce before they would even, it wasn't even when they wouldn't even strain it back, in his days, when he showed me, probably back in 1993 or 94, he was just adding cannabis to it, stirring it up, letting it simmer, and putting it on the food, stems and leaves and seeds and all.
Oh man!
So what kind of barbecue did you learn how to cooking? Was it like obviously a Carolina based, a Texas based, or was it kind of just a Mod Podge of whatever?
Man, I kind of did my research. I've never really been, I have a line of barbecue sauce, but I've never really been big on barbecue sauce. And doing my research, there's a style of barbecue called California barbecue, where you just use oak wood, and you traditionally don't use barbecue sauce. But I just think customary people are so used to barbecue and barbecue sauce, and I've always barbecue was so good it don't need sauce.
That's the thing. That's kind of where I'm at too. People, when I, because I do pit mastering at a restaurant right now, and they're like, "Oh, what's your favorite sauce?" And I'm like, "That's a weird question. None." Like seasoning? Is that what you're talking about? Because you can put sauce on it, whatever you want, but I don't suggest any of it. I don't cook it for that. And oak food's oak's my favorite. So did you grow up in California doing this? Is that where all this came from?
Yep, Long Beach, California.
Long Beach. All right. You don't think of that as a barbecue. I think California is kind of fairly new to the barbecue. I mean, everyone barbecued, of course, but as far as anything like that, barbecue is kind of new to the scene. Not a lot of people were, doing, especially competition barbecue out of California back in the 90s or anything like that. It's kind of a new thing. So
yeah, it's kind of been a new, the first time I stumbled up on it was early 2000s. When they started doing barbecue competition there at Queen Mary. And I think I took 2 trips down to Vegas a few times to compete.
Nice. And how did you do? How did you do in those competitions?
The The ones in Vegas, I pretty much got smoked because those guys had like, the $10,000, $20,000 smokers on trailers, and all that stuff. But the ones in Long Beach at the Queen Mary, I did pretty good. I think I got like viewer's choice and stuff like that. And, it was more based upon how many tickets you sold and stuff like that. But, I've always done pretty good,
So did you start out with barbecue? Did that where it come was, or was it more of a culinary aspect? I know you said you grew up barbecue was kind of the thing, but somewhere along the line, I read somewhere that you cooked at a very early age and you would put things together early. So was it barbecue? Where did the culinary bug come from?
I think it was a combination, and how I really got deep off into culinary was I was making a name for myself as a barbecue guy. And I didn't quote unquote want to be the barbecue guy. I wanted to be a well-rounded chef. So that's, later on, while I had a barbecue restaurant, I went to culinary school to kind of learn the business side of it and, the other techniques of it. So I would walk into the classroom or to the school smelling like smoked wood and smoked meat. Everybody's looking around like, what's that smell?
That smells delicious. Who is that guy?
That's flavored. That's what that is.
So you said you had a barbecue restaurant. So that's your first culinary venture really into the professional world, was a barbecue restaurant?
No, my first restaurant was in, I think it was 98, 99. I opened up a hole in the wall in Oklahoma when I went to college. And I named it after my son, Xavier's Bar and Grill. It was kind of like a bar and club during the nighttime, but during the daytime, I served food all day. And it was just, more of a place for, college kids to come hang out and eat. Like, I had prices, but never turned nobody away. If you had $2, you ate. If you had $5, you ate. It wasn't never really about the money because we were all struggling students, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Oklahoma. Yeah. Oh, man. I go to Oklahoma a lot. Used to anyway, that place. Whew. It's okay, but I don't know. I don't understand. Was Oklahoma City? Is that where it was? Tulsa? Where was it in Oklahoma?
It was nice in Oklahoma, a small college town right outside of about 30 minutes from Oklahoma City near Guthrie.
Okay. Because, man, Oklahoma City, I'm sorry, anyone from Oklahoma, man, that Oklahoma City is a hard place to hang out in.
And I loved it, man. I loved how you can go from city to country in a matter of minutes.
Yeah. And the problem is I'm a Utah Jazz fan. Obviously I'm from Utah and everyone, everyone wants to go to Oklahoma City and play ball, but they don't want to come to Salt Lake because it's boring. And I go to Oklahoma City and it's terrible. I'm sorry. That's where my bias comes from. So you open up a barbecue restaurant and then, where did so then is that when you're doing the competitions? You did kind of compete and then do the barbecue restaurant and then how did that all jive together?
I was doing the competitions before I had the restaurant. By the time I got the restaurant in Long Beach, it kind of took all my time. So there was really no time to compete, but it was just like, when you heard about it and, I joined a couple clubs and stuff like that. But, when you hear about them, if you could make them and stuff like that. And I think they were doing them in Long Beach like once a year, once every other year. I think I competed for like 2 or 3 years and got over it, if you know what I mean. When people start coming, when those Traegers started coming, my whole thing was that's cheating because that's an oven. Charcoal and wood, and you're running propane and Traeger and pellets. To me, how are we going to compete when you got a fucking oven and I got a grill? You know what I'm saying? It's not
that is the long time argument, man. That's like brisket fat up or fat down scenario, man. When it comes to the barbecue world,
just plain out cheating, competing wise.
I compete on a pellet grill, but I also was.
I know, man, I know it's hard. I know. But I do compete. I do also use charcoal in some of my as well in my cooking as well too. So my brisket will always go on charcoal. So from here on out, but yeah. So let's make this transition a little bit. So when I was growing up in the 90s, man, you used to take your little remainder bag of whatever was in your bag, shake or whatever you want to call it. We'd put that in some butter and then brownies became your edible. Now we are in 2020. We are talking words like
cannabinoids, terpenes, CBD, CBGs. There's oils there. It's just the whole nother level from the 90s to now. Let's break it into how we use that product in our cooking. But there's a TV show, I guess not a TV show, it's a show on Netflix that it's a competitive show. They use these products, and like, I've never cooked with it, I've never experienced with it, but they'll use a THC based flour, and then they'll go into later in the meal, they'll use a CBD to bring you down from a high to recenter. I don't know any of that stuff. I don't know how it works. I just, let's break it down. Let's talk the culinary aspect of using cannabis in your cooking and barbecue.
Yeah, man. Several different ways. Like right now we manufacture doing a cannabis infused olive oil with a company called Pantry, and we got vegetable oils and all different kind of oils coming, but it's just a matter of different products require different oils or butters, if you know what I mean. And with the olive oil, olive oil vegetables are good marinades, if you know what I mean. So like when you're doing proteins and stuff like that, you need to marinate it in order for, the cannabinoids and everything to come into the proteins, if you know what I mean. I feel like if you're doing like seafood or vegetables or something, it absorb it a lot faster. You don't have to do a marinade. But when you're going to do any kind of proteins, you need to marinate it, just because if you're going to put it in a pan and cook with it, if you're not watching the temperature, you could burn all the cannabinoids and terpenes out of it. So you kind of need to keep that temperature no higher than 250, a little bit lower. So that's why I always say marinate your steak in cannabis oil overnight and then cook it. But keep in mind, you don't want the pan to get over 250 degrees, because then you're kind of going to cook it off, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. So for me here in Utah and Goresti, obviously we don't have access to a THC type base of oils and anything like that. So we have access to CBDs and CBGs. Being able to ingest them will actually help with your recovery of whatever you're trying to target, right? Anxiety or pain or anything like that. How do you go about making sure that you're doing the proper dosing? And like you said, you're not burning anything off like that. We have droppers we want to drop, but if we want to infuse it into something, like example, a steak dinner or something like that.
So like I got a bottle right here. It's kind of empty. But like if you notice, so this is one of my, this is my CBD brand, CBD Daily Eats, and it's an olive oil. And if you notice on it, it kind of says 250 milligrams per bottle, 25 milligrams per serving, 10 servings. So it's just about knowing that every tablespoon has 25 milligrams in it. The good thing about CBD is no such thing as too much. You're never going to get high. It never had any cannabis to begin with. Hemp-based CBD. So people have to realize that there's two kinds of CBD. There's CBD derived from hemp, then there's CBD derived from cannabis. And when you derive CBD from cannabis, you extract the CBD out of it, and a little bit of cannabis comes with it. And it's not enough to get you high, but over time you could test dirty. And you have some people believe that the cannabis and CBD together works better. So kind of how you said fat up or fat down, you have some people who love hemp-based CBD, and you have some people that only like CBD derived from cannabis. So it's potato,
Okay.
So I have a question, like the differences between all those things you just said, Anthony. Like, I don't understand those terminologies. I know CBD oil, I've had it before. My family swears by it. And they take it all the time. So my grandmother, who had chronic pain anxiety, she takes it and she cannot go a day without it. But I know that's about it. And you guys just dropped a lot of verbiage that I don't understand. So let's talk to the layman here. And what is, break that down again. What is what? I know we just explained CBD and it was derived, but other things.
I'll make it simple for you. The difference between THC and CBD is CBD has the psychoactive effects. You get high. You feel the buzz. With the CBD has all the same medical benefits of cannabis, but it doesn't get you high.
Okay, and that's the extraction. So you extract, and like you said, when it comes from hemp, it could take some of that THC. Is that what you're saying? Sometimes just a little bit, not enough to really affect you.
Remember, there's two different ways to get it. They can extract it from the hemp plant, or they can extract the CBD from the cannabis plant, and sometimes a little bit of cannabis comes with
Cannabis,
it.
that's what okay. Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it just depends on which plant. So the hemp-based CBD can be shipped and sold and shipped around the world. But if it's CBD derived from cannabis, it has to be bought in a dispensary and it can't be shipped because it started as cannabis, so it still falls under that cannabis umbrella.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense to you.
Yep. And then like here in Utah, I personally know some people that are legal growers of CBD. They are allowed to grow a cannabis plant, but they just can't have that when they go to test. They just can't have their THC above 0.05% of that overall volume, which will still qualify as CBD, but it does come from the cannabis plant, which has the benefits. So when we're talking about the benefits of CBD and everything like that, and being able to cook with it, it expands a whole another level of what you're looking for. I don't know how we can infuse it into barbecue 110% because we want to keep it on a low level, right? So do we want to use it more as a finishing for your sauces or rubs or what? Like,
I guess it's going to come down to how advanced you are at knowing your temperatures and your protein and what you're cooking. Like if you're going to smoke something at 220 or 250 for 12 hours, well, then it's okay because it's not reaching above 250 degrees, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And keep in mind too, okay, I often explain to people like this. Say if we marinate some chicken with the olive oil, with the THC olive oil overnight, well, it's been absorbed, it's overnight, it's absorbent, and you crank it in the oven at 400. Well, even though the oven's 400, the chicken is cooked at 165, so the chicken is never technically reaching 400 degrees, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right, so you could do it the hard way, which is the way I like to do it. I like to infuse the protein itself, or you could just add it to the sauce, or you could add a chimichurri or a pesto or any kind of make it a finishing sauce, however you want to do it. But I tend to like to do shit the hard way. I don't know. I feel like if everybody else is doing a finishing sauce and put it in the sauce, well, I'm gonna do it the other way. You know what I'm saying? Just because I just like to go grain, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's crazy. So for people outside of our local states, so you got California, Denver, Washington, states like that, they can actually use the THC side of the cannabis. So how would you go about, like, obviously when you do your cooking, you're not looking to get all like wasted and just like trying to turn up and everything like that on the weekends, but people outside, like in Denver and everything like that, they want to be able to enjoy a meal, be able to get that mellow feel, but not trying to like just get totally wasted. How would you go about dosing? And let's break it down. Let's, like, okay, I'm going to cook a rack of ribs, but I want to just have a mellow evening. How would I go about dosing something like that?
So dosing is going to come down to your yield or your recipe yield. So say like if you're cooking for 2 and you got a rack of lamb and say you got 8 pieces on it, and the 2 you're going to eat 2 slices each and then have some for tomorrow. So or just say if we do a small a lamb rack of 4, you're only going to want no more than 10 milligrams per person. What the law says here. There are people who can eat 20, 30, 40, 50. Everybody's body is different. But by law, California says you should only consume 10 milligrams per serving. So knowing that if the recipe is for 2, I'm going to add 20 milligrams to that recipe. And that way, when I cut that recipe in half and I eat half and you eat half, you're eating 10 milligrams, I'm eating 10 milligrams. So just about knowing the yield of what it is that you're cooking.
Okay, and so that's all pretty clearly labeled on your product, so that's definitely helpful.
Yeah, that's all you want to do is actually just kind of freestyle, and then next thing you know, you got your face into the dirt.
I had a friend / customer buy some butter, and they always bragged about how they could handle it and everything. So they buy the butter. I sent them to buy the butter at the store or whatever. And they called me later. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, I think I took too much. I said, well, how much did you take? And he's just like, I don't know. Me and my girlfriend are on the couch and we're just staring at each other. And I'm like, well, you're only supposed to take 10 milligrams. He says, well, I made grilled cheese and tomato soup. And I said, well, how many tablespoons did you use of grilled cheese? He said, I think 3. And I go, okay, that's, extra 10, 12 milligrams. He goes, but then I put like 2 spoons each in each soup. So I said, you just did. I did the math. I said, okay, you did like 3 tablespoons of the grilled cheese. That's 30 milligrams. And then you did 20 her soup. And then you did 20 of her soup. I'm like, you guys just fucking ate damn near 40 milligrams each.
Yeah, they were gone. That's what we're not going for when you're using this product. I guess some people are, but if you're going to use it as a meal and trying to, enjoy yourself a little bit like that, you want to tone it back a little bit. And then also from the research I've read is if you get too far, if you say I give Rusty 20 milligrams of a steak, some veterinary, and he's just starting to kind of take off on me. A dessert you can use, from what I've heard, you can use a CBD and it'll kind of reel him back in a little bit from not taking off so bad.
Correct.
How does that work?
Correct. That's exactly what I did. So I jumped in the car and took them CBD drinks and had them down to drinks, and they gave them a piece of CBD chocolate. They kind of counter. I don't want to say they kind of counteract each other, but they kind of do. If you do get too high, you can take some CBD, and it kind of just helps relieve the anxiety of it, and kind of just brings the high down a little bit. Kind of just helps it, makes it more manageable. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why sometimes you can get a 1-to-1, which is 1 part cannabis, 1 part CBD, 1-to-1, and then you have 2-to-1s. And it just depends on your ratio. But like the most important thing I'll tell everybody is like, we're all different and it doesn't have anything to do with your size. One person can be 300 pounds and can eat 10 milligrams, and somebody could be 150 and eat 30 milligrams. So it kind of doesn't have a lot to do with size and shape. It just kind of has to do with your metabolism in your body. And we're still trying to figure that shit out. If you know what I mean?
Right.
So back in the day when I was really into cannabis, I read a book called, I think it was called Marijuana Revised. And it was a book about a guy, a doctor, I think he was a professor somewhere, and he was setting out to prove once and for all that, marijuana is not good for you. And the research he did, he actually ended up changing the whole script. The whole book became about how it benefits you. Now, I remember a lot about that, but let's talk about why should I be consuming cannabis?
I feel that it has a lot of medical benefits. As a chef, when I was a corporate chef and I was in the kitchens all day, working 12, 14, 15-hour days, 6, 7 days a week. I mean, my back was constantly hurting. I mean, my feet felt like shit. It was just migraines, dealing with higher ups, and then dealing with staff. We tend to drink a lot, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So kind of like cannabis helped, because, I was overseas then. So when I came back, I could start consuming cannabis again. But I started noticing, like, as soon as I start consuming it again, like, I don't like to smoke it. That's a fun fact that, people don't know. Like, I don't like to smoke it. I like to eat it. And you have people that smoke like a Snoop Dogg, but don't care to eat it.
Yeah,
so I just feel like each person has its own. And I just feel like it's an alternative way to consume cannabis. You have elderly people, you have young kids that need it. They're showing you how many wonderful benefits it has for cancer patients and all this. And it might not be conducive for a senior citizen or somebody older to smoke or somebody young to smoke. So here we have an alternative way. And to make it less like medicine, why not just put it into the food and it becomes a lifestyle and not so much a medicine, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, especially if you're just like a chronic pain person and you like, let's be honest, like I've done CBD drops and it's some of them taste good and some of them taste horrible. Why not just infuse them into something? I'd rather eat a nice bowl of macaroni and cheese with some bacon on top with some CBD mixed in there and where you won't taste it. And it's just like a normal meal.
So if I got the olive oil, am I tasting a lot of the like the cannabis taste, or is it just olive oil?
You taste a little. You taste a little bit of it, but only because we want you to.
Mhm.
We're trying to struggle that fine balance between where it's like you want to show people that cannabis can taste good too. So you're not tasting dirt. You're eating high quality olive oil with a hint of cannabis, and if you're cooking with it right, that taste of cannabis complements the dish that you're cooking, or vice versa. If you know what I mean.
Right.
There's ways to get rid of the taste. You can wash your cannabis and get rid of the taste, but at that point, I feel like that's when it gets dangerous. And one of the challenges, and me being the chef that I am, I want the challenge of trying to blend that taste and making it taste good. If there's no taste to it, then it's kind of like
you end up like your friend.
Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's no taste. You end up like your friend staring at his girlfriend on a couch.
It taste still kind of helps prevent somebody from roofing somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Let's since we're on the taste profile about that, let's talk about seasoning your food with the flower. So there's so many different lines of cannabis flowers out there. It's ridiculous nowadays. How would you go about, like, I guess once again, let's just go back to beef. It's so much easier. Steak. How would I pick a flower to season a steak? Versus I'm not using any oils. I'm just going to straight use a flower, kind of like salt and pepper. How would I go about choosing?
I've never done that before.
Okay.
I did have a seasoning, a dry rub, a steak rub, and different rubs that had keef in it. The hairs and the keef off the cannabis. But I'd never put cannabis on food. That wouldn't taste good at all. If other people are doing.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, it's just I just from that show that I seen on Netflix. Sometimes I'll just scrape a little bit and put it on for flavor. Like,
some of those shows you have to be careful, because it's like some of the shit they have on the show, the average person is never going to get their hands on. And that's kind of why I don't do a lot of the shows. And I'll turn down every one of those Netflix shows. Like, I can show you emails. I've got calls and emails. I just feel like they're misguided. And it's like, why aren't we showing them something that they can go in the dispensary and pick up and use? Why are we showing them some shit that they're never going to be able to get their hands on? That doesn't make any sense to me. I want to be part of the solution. I don't want to confuse anybody anymore. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, like, let's talk retail level, versus high end imports and all that other stuff. Something that a common user can just like go to. And once again, like we've talked on this podcast, consistency is huge in competitive barbecue. You want to be able to find a product that's consistent every single time and give you the exact same results. Yeah. So speaking of dispensaries and about your product a little bit, are your products pretty widely available? I see that you have them online that you can, I don't know if you can ship outside of California or what that is, or how to get product.
All my CBD products can be shipped. All my CBD products can be shipped, worldwide. We're shipping everywhere now. And one thing about cannabis is it's state to state. So what's made in California, licensed in California, has to stay in California. Did a deal with a company in Oklahoma, so we're going to have the Chef Matt brand in Oklahoma. Working on a deal with a company in Nevada. So there are a few states that the Chef Matt brand going to be available to. And just as more states keep coming more legal, we find, reputable manufacturer companies there and do a deal with them and bring the brand there,
Oh, so technically it's not supposed to border jump you. It has to be manufactured in that state.
Yeah, state, because the state to state tax reasons and shit like that. So it's one of the only businesses where you start a company and you got to keep it in the state. Like, that doesn't really make any sense. But you're not gonna have me on camera complaining. You know what I mean?
Right? No, totally understand. So as being as being a producer in this industry, have you seen a huge change with all these other states opening up? Is it becoming easier for you to be able to like, hey, I want to start a new product and start going into your R&D process and like that? Or is it kind of like, ooh, I'm just gonna ride this out. I'm gonna stick to my product that I currently have. No tweaks, no changes. What's it like to be in this industry on producing a product?
Oh no, man. I have like 30 SKUs ready to go. Because as a chef, we use like different things, if you know what I mean. So to only limit a chef to one item is kind of impossible, if you know what I mean. So like right now we're doing the olive oil, but you have to imagine that like the olive oils and the butters and the coconut oils and stuff, it's still going over most people's heads, because most people still thinking brownies and they're thinking cannabis, and a lot of people want like instant gratification, like they buy it and they smoke it. So I'm having to create like a lot of content to help people understand how to use the product. And I feel like the more content I keep creating, people see it and say, oh, now I get it, and go on and, do other things with it.
So you kind of look at it like you're cooking with vitamins almost, in a way. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just additions to it and making it. That's cool. I see a couple of, and you're cooking all the time with it. You got a lot of different, like I'm just looking up right now, a couple like red velvet cookies and stuff and different ways to cook. Infused pesto. That sounds really good. Yeah, I love pesto.
Right. Yeah, like your website, your photos that you have on here, it's high-end food. It's not just no backyard style chef. You are a trained chef. You went to culinary school. You understand the arts of food. It's not just, we're not just talking, just cannabis, some Rasta dude just chilling and making food. We're talking high-end quality, 5-star food.
Right.
Yeah. And then, so that's the thing. The problem is because there's a huge stigma still. I don't know how it is in California, but out here it's pretty bad. It's still, because I think that marijuana in general was so demonized for so long. And, you had all sorts of misinformation out there and you name it. And it was probably the craziest moment of my entire life when my grandmother, most religious person in the whole world, didn't even want to look at a bottle of beer, is like, she's taking CBD. And I'm like, wow, like how, I can't believe that. So it's like to come in and to, cook with it and take it to a whole nother level. And you're not only just cooking with it, you're looking to train new people to do it. Like, I think I was reading, you have a program coming up where you'd like to train new chefs in this industry too. So talk about that, the future and how you're trying to make it so people aren't, bringing it out of the dark ages, I would say.
Yeah, we're just trying to create a certification for it. There's 1,000 chefs coming out the woodworks cooking with it, and a lot of people are making it themselves and they're not testing it. And so, the whole goal for the Chef Matt brand is to be the go-to brand for, chefs and home cooks and people who want to use it. A lot of these people are hosting cannabis dinners and they're making oils themselves at home, and shit's dangerous, and they're guessing a milligram. So we're just trying to set the standard, and we're just on the tail end of finishing up 2 certifications, a certification for cooking with CBD and then a certification for cooking with cannabis. And once you get to certification, it just lets people know that, the do's and don'ts, and, and you're going to be learning for some of the top experts in the game, scientists. We got scientists working on this program with us. We got nurses, we got growers, we got other chefs. We just got historians, we just got a bunch of people who are helping out with this because everybody wants everybody to be safe. And the last thing we need is for some Joe Blow to make something too strong and hurt somebody. That's going to set us back, if you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So is there
trying to move forward.
Right. So is there a governor body that's kind of like started or, like to be able to like manage this? Like in the meat world, we have the USDA, right? Is there any government bodies that are trying to put this on a track and be like, this is what we're going to follow and this is going to be standard? Is there anything in the industry that's heading that direction?
every state has one that legalized. We have one in California, but often what happens is the people in those roles aren't people who've consumed cannabis or know much about it, so they get these positions because they're qualified on paper, but they don't know anything about the culture or cannabis, and they've never used it, so they don't quite understand some of the things that need to be done. So until we can get people in there who actually use cannabis and understand it, it's just going to move slow, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, makes sense. And I guess it's one of those things like the state of Utah, we really struggling on being able to grasp the use of cannabis. Unlike California and Washington, all that, they've gone to the more recreational side, but I'm a big fan of the medical side. My wife, she is actually a detox nurse. She is solid about the use of medical marijuana to help come off your opiates and alcohol. Those are so dangerous, and I can go to the local Walgreens and pick those up and get myself into some serious trouble, which medical marijuana I cannot get a hold of, and I can't being able to pain manage correctly. How are you seeing that turn going on throughout each state? Are you like, every time a vote comes up in another state, are you like, come on, cross your fingers so we can just get this standardized across the United States? Or like, what is your role in the play of all this?
I mean, yeah, that would be the goal, because I don't understand why some states feel that, like, if you don't drink, you don't drink. And if you don't smoke cannabis and cannabis becomes legal in your state, if you don't smoke it and you don't have any interest in it, it's not going to tempt you to do it. And I just think that some states, the people in charge feel that once it goes legal, they're going to have an influx of people, bad people. If you get what I'm saying, and anybody knows anything, that you don't get high and do shit. You don't get high and commit crimes and robberies and shit. So until people understand that, you know what I'm saying, it's always going to be,
you might steal some Funyuns.
Right. or you'll just take it to the whole nother level, like you got right here to these chocolate dipped strawberries, man. You're like, let's make some bomb food. If we're gonna make snacks, let's do some real snacks.
I mean, it's something like, I think we said, somebody was like, if they make heroin legal, okay. I mean, I ain't going to do it. I don't do heroin. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it just comes to each person's preference, but I mean, at some point, states will go for it because they're seeing the money that's being made, and every state wants money.
Right. I feel like if you're a cannabis user, you're already using it either way. I'm a supporter of it. I don't use it, but I support it 110% because I do believe in the benefits of the product for sure. But I want to definitely get into this whole CBD infused. I want to make like some ribs. How would I go about doing this? Would you recommend like maybe like a dry rub or a butter? How would I, let's go through a cook of ribs. I'm going to go out there and smoke some ribs. With using CBD, because that's what is available to me.
If you go on my website, you'll see that I have a cannabis, I have a CBD barbecue sauce on there already. So you can either buy the barbecue sauce, or you could buy the honey and add the honey to your favorite barbecue sauce recipe. You can add the butter to it. You can add the coconut oil to it. So it just depends on, if you're vegan and you want a barbecue sauce, you may want the CBD coconut oil. If you're not, you may want, the butter or the honey. So I just try to have something for everybody.
Right. So would you recommend this? Like, I guess the way I would wrap my ribs is I'd smoke my ribs and then I place them in a foil with some, butter and brown sugar and more rub, and then maybe use this hemp honey. Would that be okay, or would it kind of melt off? I'm just trying to figure out how to properly use it, I should say.
It's probably going to run off, but I would just say like rub it on like at the end, if you know what I mean.
So use it more of a finishing sauce. Yeah.
Yeah, use it more of a finishing sauce, or if you're going to make if you're going to make a marinade, you could use that in the marinade. A little orange juice, a little honey, some dry rub, mix it all up, and let it marinate. it kind of just depends on what it is that you're aiming for. Or you can take the olive oil again and make you any kind of finishing sauce for you. You know, if you don't want barbecue sauce or whatever your side dish is. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a barbecue. It could be in a side dish. And one of the main things I tell people is that sometimes they try to put CBD or cannabis on everything on the plate. And there's often no need for that. Just pick one thing on a plate. You know, you don't have to have the whole plate have to be, you know, infused. And I think that's one of the mistakes that people make is people think that the whole damn plate has to be infused.
Right.
Yeah. So if you have guests over, be like, these are just normal ribs. This is normal mac and cheese, but we have a CBD or cannabis infused vinaigrette over here. So you can put that on your side with, you know, your normal other dressings. Be like, this meal is completely cannabis free, but if you'd like to add it, you can use this product here.
You know, that's exactly how I do. You know, when I do these big events and stuff like that, that's exactly how I do it. Is I just make regular food and then I infuse, you know, some side things, and that way people have the option to, you know, do it. Now, let's always make somebody there to make sure that they're aware of how strong it is and how much you're using. I'm not going to let somebody stand there and put 3 tablespoons on it. I don't care what you say. And you get 1 tablespoon and you keep it pushing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the best thing to do about it, have as an option.
And see, when I went to culinary school, I really was focused, and my favorite besides barbecue cuisine is Italian cuisine. And so I cook it all the time. So I'm constantly drenching steam in olive oil to finish it. You know, so that'd be a good thing too. I mean, even if it's not Italian, even if I just like, you know, put some, let's say the other day we put, oh gosh, my brain today is so bad. We put a vegetable. Let's just say a vegetable. Okay. And I'll think about it in a second. We put it in the end, you just top it with a little olive oil right before you eat it, you know, and Brussels sprouts. There we go. I chopped them up, sauteed them with some scallops, put a couple of things in at the end, just a little olive oil on the plate. So, I mean, that'd be a good option too, because I literally I eat olive oil constantly. So whether it's topping on vegetables, topping on my spaghetti or my whatever it is. So that'd be a really good addition. And that was my whole problem was I had the oils, but I liked it. It was okay. You know, it was lemon, but it was just like one of those things, you know, but if you had it just to cook on, just like all the time, just, hey man, I'm going to throw in a teaspoon on top of my roasted carrots. You know, that sounds super legit to me. That sounds like something I can get into.
So let me grab a bottle of this cannabis oil. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah. So Rusty, would you see yourself using something like this in your cooks or in your barbecue? Just like, hey, today, like for example, a long day at the restaurant, you're like, oh man, I just need to take the edge off. Would you use a product like this to help?
I would. I mean, like he said, you work in the restaurant, man. It kicks your butt. I was at the store today for 5 hours. I got home, my legs were like, oh, that was 5 hours, and that's a short day. So heck yeah, right. I could totally see myself doing that.
Nice.
So what do you got there?
So this is cannabis olive oil right here.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
You know, and high quality olive oil. You know, all of the city, all the state regulations and stuff on the side, and you know the history of the olive oil that's being used in here. You know, and everything. So we just try to use high quality products to begin with, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're just taking crappy oil, you know, and using it. You know, like even me, like when I buy olive oil, the first thing I do is every time I buy olive oil, I'll buy fresh herbs and garlic and brand new chili pep flakes. The first thing I do is heat it up, throw the garlic in there, throw the herbs in there, and throw the chili flakes in there and let it seep, and then strain it and put it back into the bottle. It's just like, I love herb, garlic, olive oil, and we're going to be transitioning over to doing the same thing with these oils, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's kind of like what you said, Anthony, those, and we touched on before, is that working in the restaurant business or working in a high stress job, any kind of mentally, physically is hard. And you kind of turn to some substances. You know, mine was whiskey. I no longer drink, but you know, I don't do anything. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do nothing. So for me, it's like, I don't have that relaxation. I don't get home after a long day on the line and have anything, you know. I'm just like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna hopefully Netflix and that'll help. So having the CBD, like kind of what you said, it would be something that it would, if works for, and like, you know, Chef Matt says, it's not for everyone. Some people it affects differently. So if it's something I took and it did for me, oh man, all day, you know, because I hate to say the word vice because it's not a vice, but it's something that helps you just chill, you know, and calm down. And the natural way I can get there, the better, because, you know, I can't get back into all that stuff. So, but.
Nice. So what's the timeline? So if I'm let's talk the THC side of this. If I'm going to ingest 10 milligrams in a meal, what's my timeline before I start like, okay, I'm feeling this kick in a little bit. I know everybody's body's different, but what's like a ballpark average of feeling the results of your intake?
Here's my philosophy, and I can only speak from my personal experience. I kind of compare it to alcohol. It's like if you eat it on an empty stomach, it's going to work faster. If your stomach is full, it's going to take a little longer. And I can only attribute it to if you have stuff in your stomach already, when you put in next, what's in there first has to be processed first. If you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I look at it. So it's like, if I want to get a buzz fast, I'll consume cannabis on an empty stomach. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then I know if I'm at dinner already, then I'm going to eat a piece of chocolate. I know that's going to take 45 minutes to an hour and a half because my body has a process was already in my stomach. Like it doesn't just magically say, oh, this cannabis, let me put it next to mine.
Right. Yeah.
So
So if I was
15 minutes.
Nice. So if I was going to do this, I don't know about you, Rusty. I would create a meal. I'd have my appetizer, you know, salad or whatever, your main course. And then I would actually probably use it in my dessert. Cause if I had it my first meal, by the time I'm done, I'm not going to want to do anything. I want to give myself I'm an at-home cook. I want to give myself some time to clean up and then be able to go and sit on the couch and then enjoy the evening. So that's how I would probably do it. I don't know about how everybody else does it, but that would be my plan of attack if I was going to create a meal for myself, or even for like Chef Matt does on a professional level. He probably plays the cards a little bit different when he's catering and all that stuff. But as a personal, on the personal level, that's how I would definitely do it. Use it in my desserts.
Possibly. I eat too much, so I'm not cleaning afterwards anyway. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go sit down. I'll do this tomorrow. So it doesn't matter to me.
You know, it depends on the product too, because some products, when you eat them, it's like wham, somebody punch you in the chest. It just floodgates open. It just hits you. But then you have some products that, like, when you hit it, it gradually comes on. It's like a time capsule release. You feel it coming on, and then it's coming, and it reaches its height, and you're cool. And I feel like that's always better because it's kind of just, it hits you, and then it just gets a little stronger, and then it finally gets to where it's going. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then you're there. And then you have some shit to eat, and it's just like it's like sticking your hand into an electrical socket.
Your hair is fried.
You know, I didn't think about that though. So you infuse it in dinner, it's like a built-in nightcap, you know? It's just like, you're just like, all right, I'm eating and I'm done. And I didn't have to do anything else. That's cool.
Right. And then go ahead. So speaking of which, the whole nightcap scenario like that, obviously, once again, we're going to talk about THC, but there's two different strands. You know, you got your sativa lines and your indica lines. For lunch, you don't want to take an indica. Probably it'll probably just ruin your evening or your afternoon, I should say. But how do you go about using either one of those lines in your cooks? How would you approach that?
I just use a hybrid. You know, hybrid. 50-50 dominant. You know, that way you don't end up having to make two different olive oils. You have to make an indica olive oil, then a sativa olive oil. Just use a hybrid 50-50 down the middle. Problem solved.
Okay. There you go.
Down the line, you know, we hope to get to the point where, you know, as people get more educated, we will start making, you know, sativa dominant thing and the indica dominant. But right now, for where we're at today, it's just a hybrid right down the middle.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
cool, man.
One thing, so a lot of people listen there. They're in California. A lot of our listeners are out of California. So where are you located? Someone from California right now listening, where can they find you in California for the THC products and stuff like that?
Well, you can't buy them from me. Licensed dispensaries or delivery services. You can find a lot of the pantry products on Toker, TOKR.
Okay.
And that's the main thing right now. And we're relaunching some keto bites and a lot of more stuff that should be in stores in the next 60 to 90 days. You'll see a lot more Chef Matt products all over California.
Nice. And then so outside of California, the CBD stuff, where can they find that same place?
ChefMattCooks.com.
Cool. And then you can look for him. Like, you're all over the place. In fact, you met Mike Tyson. Let me preface this. I'm a huge boxing fan. Probably the biggest boxing fan there is. And I would be Mike Tyson. I'd be like a little girl because I love that guy. He was my favorite. I want to know, just before we get off here, how was that? Did you hang out with the dude or just meet him?
That wasn't my first time meeting him. Mike is a real cool guy, and he doesn't have an ego, contrary to people's belief. He's just real laid back, and it's like he not that person he used to be, man. He's just a cool, laid back, humble dude, and he'll talk to anybody. If you're close enough to get next to him, security lets you get next to him, or you can get in the same room of him, you've done all right. But cool, humble dude, man. Love him to death.
Awesome. That's cool. I would love it. Oh man, I would die. I have a lot of signed stuff by him. So cool. So where else can people find you, that just on social media, any place like that?
Chef Matt 2.0 on Instagram, Chef Matt Cooks on Facebook, Chef Matt on Twitter. It's either going to be Chef Matt Cooks or Chef Matt 2.0. I don't keep up with all that.
Right. You just go to your website and you can get to all those things. So it's chefmattcooks.com. You also on Facebook, you do a lot of cool videos and cooking videos too, like that. You kind of have some stuff like that people can go watch and learn a lot from you. So we appreciate it.
Just launched a video today, the Exotic Eats series, which is a series of exotic recipes, and we did a Cajun dirty rice yesterday with ground rabbit. So that video is gaining a lot of momentum today.
Saw that. Nice. I'm a huge rabbit fan, as everyone listens to the podcast knows.
Yeah.
So
the rabbit is a big thing in the last month or so on the podcast.
Yeah, so that's perfect.
So let's just touch that real quick. So we were at ThermoWorks. I'm pretty sure you use ThermoWorks products. Hopefully you use ThermoWorks products. But we were at their HQ and we had this grill off, and there's just this lonely little rabbit over there, and Rusty's like, I want to cook it. So he grabs it, cooks it, and dude, it turned out amazing. Like the photos that were coming off social media from everybody doing it, taking photos of the rabbit, they were just amazing. And it kind of in the local barbecue scene, it kind of went semi-viral, I should say. And I got to take my hats off to Rusty because I never had a rabbit and he killed it.
Well, when you grow up raising rabbit, yeah.
You killed it and cleaned it and dressed it and everything yourself?
It's hard. It's not hard. And they produce 40 rabbits a day. Every rabbit produces 100 rabbits a day. So you have to, you got to eat them. You have to. You can't let 40 dang rabbits run around. That little baby rabbit can, dude.
Anybody who follows on Instagram know that last year I probably started with 3 rabbits in the backyard and had 20.
Yeah.
And they were just they just multiply.
Yeah. Learn. It's with COVID and all that stuff, trying to get closer to your food, man. Get rabbits. You'll never go hungry. Well, cool, man. It's been awesome talking to you, man. That was a lot of fun. I learned a ton. So that was really cool. Yeah. We had to check out some of your products, and then my grandmother, I have to get her on that. She's cook with it. That'd be a good idea. Just thought about that. That'd be amazing.
I'll get you guys fixed up with a package.
Oh, awesome, man. That'd be great.
Nice. Cool. Sweet.
Way cool.
Alrighty, man. Well, thanks for coming in and setting this up with us. So
man,
appreciate your time.
thanks for having me, man. Maybe when Corona shit is over, we can all get together and jump in the kitchen together.
Oh, that would be super cool.
I'm
That'd be
down
awesome.
with that. I'm down with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Way
thank-
cool.
Well, cool, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
All
a lot. It's fun.
See you later.